Hello chess family, it's me, National Master Jesse James, and today we're going to be taking a look at the top 10 endgame rules. And here we go with our first one over here. I do have a full 10 for the opening, 10 for the middle game, and now this is the endgame, that's why it says 21. So here we go to win without pawns, you must be a rook or two minor pieces ahead, and that's why I have all these pieces around here scattered. You can win with two knights, although this is not a forced checkmate. You can win with the king and a rook. You can win in the knight and bishop, although it is a complicated, I think it's like 25 to like 30 move pattern sometimes, depending on how good your technique is. And of course you can do king and queen checkmate, or you can have the bishop's checkmate. Anything else is not going to be sufficient to get that checkmate. Hopefully I didn't leave any one of those checkmates out. All right, on to the next one. Let's go to the king must be active in the endgame. This is one a lot of beginners will have a trouble with because, well, when do you bring your king in? And, well, whenever there's less pieces on the board and you don't feel like you can be checkmated, you calculate and look around, this is the perfect time. Remember, the king is a piece, and definitely in the end game, it's one of the strongest pieces. In this game, we see from George Salomon versus Paul Morphy, here the king gets active. At this point, white has come to a stalemate as far as trying to improve the position. So what do? Activate your king. Your king must be active. Here, black is trying to control the d8 square, and there's no good way for white to add another piece to it. Well, no good piece. We got the king over here, so the king marches. King f2, g5. Black is just going to move around some pawns over here randomly. That's okay. We don't have to worry about this. King e3. The king is going to try to get to c8. If the king gets to c8, it is game over. Pawn g4, king to d3. Always a good idea to stay off the dark squares since they do have the dark square bishop. Pawn to g5, bishop c6, a very good move. Here, if you're looking at the board, you would have said, hey, we can't get in through c5, we can't get in through a5, just move the bishop out the way. And now, hopefully, you see the route that we're going to be taking. c4, b5, a6, b7, and c8. Game over. Pawn takes, rook g8. Here, the rook really can't move away because, well, they're going to, if the rook does move off the rank, then we take the bishop. And here they can never take the rook because, well, pawn takes back, making a queen. That's why, well, this rook is just untouchable. King over to c4, and the king just keeps marching over here. And once the king gets to c8, it is now time for black to resign. Remember, guys, use your king in the endgame when there's just a few pieces left. Don't go out too early if your king will be harassed. All right, on to the next rule. Passed pawns must be pushed. Here we see in another Morphy game, black is, well, just up an extra queen over here, but, well, what do you do in this position? Well, passed pawns must be pushed. We don't have a passed pawn. What's a passed pawn? A passed pawn is a pawn that has no pawn in front of it. That's why we push these pawns forward so we can get an extra queen or extra material to win. So when there is none, well, let's go ahead and create one. Here, bishop takes on a3 and bishop to e3. Of course, white did not want to make trades here as this only helps out black. Pawn to a5, passed pawns must be pushed. This is a rule not only good for the end game, but also for your middle games too. Rook takes on c7, bishop d6, and rook to d7, bishop b5. We're always just moving around. We want to push the passed pawn, but we got to make sure everything is safe first. Pawn f3, well, here we see the idea. The rook is trying to be opened up over here. So queen to c8, nice little tempo attacking the rook and also getting out the way of this rook from attacking. Rook goes to c7, attacking the bishop. And here we go, queen takes c3. A very good move attacking the bishop, defending our bishop, and also controlling the queening square. Here we go. Bishop to f2. And here we go, passed pawns must be pushed, a4. Pawn to f4, bishop d4. Trades are only going to help us out. Rook takes on e4, bishop check, rook takes, and what do we do here? Passed pawns must be pushed, a3. Bishop d3. Here we do take a second because now there are credible threats of a discovery. Simple chess, let's stop it, g6. Pawn f5, is it a good move? Not good enough to stop us, passed pawns must be pushed. Pawn takes on g6, and now after king h8, white goes ahead and resigns. There's just no good checks here you can play. You can play something like g7 check, but the king in the long run is just going to get out the checks, and this pawn is about to queen. All right, on to the next rule over here. The easiest endgames to win are king and pawn endgames. Here we see white has a passed pawn over here, but yeah, well, the king is kind of blocking it, and well, this rook is doing a good job trying to put pressure on it. Well, I'll go ahead and challenge you right here. White to move. What do you play here to trade into a winning king and pawn endgame? Hopefully you push pause. Hopefully you're trying to figure it out. Maybe you got it instantly. Here you just play rook to d4 check here. And well, the king is just overloaded here trying to defend this rook, but also trying to defend this rook. And well, king takes, or else will take, king takes, and now it's an easy winning endgame. Pawn f5, pawn f4, a little bit of class here. King e3, and what do? Pass pawns must be pushed. Here we go. a5, king f2, a6, king takes on g2, a7, and well, that's it. Game over for black in this game again. All right, on to the next game. Here we go. A very good rule here. When you're up a pawn, trade pieces, not pawns. But what do you mean by pieces? Pieces are the big ones. We want to make these trades, not pawn trades. Why not pawn trades? Each pawn is a potential queen. And the more you trade, the more likely black or who is ever losing can keep trading until, well, there's no more pawns to queen. Maybe even a draw king and pawn endgame. So the more pawns you have on the board, the better chances you have when you're up the extra pawn to actually make a queen or get a pawn across the board. Here, white is about to win the c5 pawn, but does it with class and plays. After rook c7, knight takes on f8, knight takes on f8, and rook takes on c5, forcing again another trade. Here, white's up an extra pawn, so let's go ahead and make more trades. And this is a forced trade here because, well, the rook has to take. There's nowhere really good for the rook to move to. For instance, something like rook to d7, rook c8, and with this pin, well, you're going to be trading everything off, if not just losing a piece. So here the rook has to trade. Rook takes, bishop takes, knight to e6, bishop to e3, and here white won a very fine game. If you are interested in seeing the full game here, go ahead and take a look at our series Basics in Chess in the playlist, and each one of these rules is given with a game explaining in full length about how you actually can take advantage or use these strategies. All right, on to the next one. Do not place pawns on the same color as your bishop. Here again, we see a very nice endgame, and here we see that, well, white, this time we have black with the bishop versus the knight. Just remember, guys, rook and bishop works together better than a rook and a knight. And, well, here we see that black has the pawns all in the dark squares, which is great because, well, this helps with the bishop because it can move around easily. And this is very bad for white because, well, this bishop can potentially attack the pawns. Well, do not place pawns the same color as your bishop. Here, black does a very good job, and he goes ahead and plays a5, king f2, and what do you do here? Pawn b5. Here we're going to get some passed pawns moving. We just got to get rid of these pawns over here. Pawn takes, bishop takes, rook to d2, rook e3 attacking the pawn, rook to b2, rook c3, g4, and here a4, pawn takes, bishop takes. Remember, guys, don't put pawns of the same color as your bishop. It only restricts it in the endgame. All right, on to the next rule. Bishops are better than knights in all but blocked positions. And this is another good rule here. Here again, we see that black is in a very good position. He has the bishop and rook versus the knight and the rook. And, well, here, you can keep playing around over here and trying to, even grab a pawn right here on d4 if you want to. But here, Morphe playing the black pieces does the best move here. What's the best move here? Well, for easy strategy, here we just trade into a winning bishop versus knight endgame. Rook to e1, just trading it off. And after rook takes, bishop takes, with all these pawns on the dark squares, this bishop is just going to gobble up all the pawns. And, well, although knights are definitely one of my favorite pieces, in endgames, they're not particularly great, especially when there's pawns on opposite sides of the board. Well, why is that? Because the knight needs to jump back and forth, and this takes, typically 2 to 4 moves, especially just getting across the board. How long does it take a bishop to get across the board? Well, if it's on the right diagonal, only 1 move. So here, this bishop was able to dominate and just destroy this knight in this endgame. All right, on to the next one. It is worth a pawn to get a rook to the 7th rank. 7th or 2nd, I like to say, because, well, whenever you're black, you're trying to get your rook to the 2nd rank, right? So we can go ahead and gobble up all these pawns. That's why they call them pigs on the 7th. They're swine. They're pigs. They're just trying to eat up all your pawns. Or whenever you're white, you want to get a rook to the 7th so that you can attack their pawns, which will go up to the next rule, which is rooks belong behind passed pawns, or rooks really just go behind pawns in general. In this game, we see white go ahead and play. Bishop takes on b7. You have to be careful about grabbing these pawns. As you can see, there's just going to be a nice skewer here with rook to b8 coming up. And, well, that's exactly what black plays. Rook to b8. And here white tries to go ahead and make some threats, bishop c6. And here we just got to make sure that we keep making threats so that the rook can take on b2. If you play another move that doesn't work out, like let's say rook d2, this gives them time just to defend. So keep making threats. Here, rook e6, bishop d7, rook e7. Now, well, this bishop can't move anywhere to defend the pawn, and also this bishop's being attacked. Here white went ahead and played rook a d1. Rook takes b2, and now we have the pig on the seventh, or the second rank in this one. And here you see the rook is prime place to go ahead and attack all these pawns. And well, again, if you want to see the full game, go ahead and check out the other the playlist video, which I'll put in the description. And on to our next one: rooks belong behind passed pawns. And this is a very good rule. A lot of people will try to move their rooks over to the side because they don't know any better. Just remember the rule, rooks belong behind passed pawns. I even extend this to even saying rooks belong behind passed pawns when you're attacking or you are defending. It's usually one of the best places to put for your rook. With that being said, it was black to move, and here, well, it's black to move and win. Can you figure it out? Here, white's pawn was trying to get over here. Black's pawn is trying to get over here. What do you play to make your opponent just resign in this kind of position? All right, hopefully you tried to figure it out. Here you see the very nice move of rook to c3. Here, the rook goes behind the passed pawn, is threatening the queen. And here, well, king has to go to c1, and here you just grab the pawn on c6. And after rook takes on c6, you can see black has plenty of extra pawns here, and well, white lost their most important piece in this game. Black goes on to win a very nice endgame here. All right, on for our last one, which is blockade pass pawns with your king. In this game, well, another Morphy game over here. Morphy was actually just losing in this middle game and then goes into an endgame where he's able to outplay his opponent because he was not a very good endgame player. And here, well, white went ahead and played rook b1, put rooks behind passed pawns, threatening to make a queen over here. And what do you play right here? Remember the rule, blockade pass pawns with your king. The king goes to b8. Why not? Why use the king and the rook? Well, most times the king is just going to go there because, well, the king is not as active as our other pieces will be, like the rooks and the bishops. And so if you put a rook here, well, the rook is not going to be doing as much at all, right? You're basically wasting a really strong piece here. So here, let's just use our king to blockade, and we can get our other pieces active, especially by trying to get our pawn across the board. All right, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this. Please like, subscribe. Please ask any questions, and, well, we'll see you in the next video.